the goal.
Yes.
What you were after was you wanted to be working on the co-teaching as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular with team teaching,
Right.
so
With
that there was the
stations.
flow
Right.
and stations. So we
Right.
got two
Yes.
parts of
Mhm.
of co-teaching going on. So in light of what was your purpose,
Yes.
what you were wanting to have happen,
Yes.
what happened? How did it go? So, Kristen,
think
you
it
want
went
to
great.
start?
I-
Okay.
Yeah, I think it went well because it works out better when there's two of us, because if there's something like I forget that's on our plan, then she can pick it up. Or if I feel like I see someone who's not getting it, as she's explaining, I can jump in. So I think it just works out. You
Okay.
can reach like more students that way than if it's just me up there.
Okay.
It was awesome. I like the flow. I like to have more than one person in the room. It gives you, each child an opportunity to get some one-on-one. So it worked out well.
Especially when we have our stations, because if I'm having to spend 7 minutes explaining something again to one student, then that leaves the whole rest of the class, without being monitored or helped or pushed. And so there's two of us, we can do that rotation.
And saw what you heard, what you were feeling. It went well. It went
Really well.
the way
Yeah.
you wanted it to go
Yes,
for the
it
kids
did.
to do the learning. You asked me to take a few notes, and I took a lot of notes. But I did this in a couple different ways, just to watch the flow, because you asked me to watch flow. The opening up part, welcoming, warm up, there were like three, I'll call it flows. Like one of you started, then the other one popped in. The next part of it was moving more into getting started with the warm up and their responses and those kinds of things. And like there were four, what I called back, and it was
Yeah.
all natural. It just was occurring as like conversation, like
Right.
like a comfortable dialogue. When you got into the conversation about the eyes, and what would happen if they looked at the sun, there were just a couple there. You went outside, you came back, all of that. I picked up 2 on that. And then when you got back in, you started having them work through their lab formats, 3 kind of flows there. Somebody appeared at the door,
Yes.
so you were handling that while you were
Situation,
keeping
yes.
this. So that went
Which
that
happens a lot.
Yeah.
that, yeah, I know,
Sometimes,
that's school.
interruptions.
So that kind of, but again, it seemed like you were aware of what was happening. She was taking
Yeah.
care of it, so the children were attended
Right.
still. So
Right.
you
Yes,
kept
that's
the learning
correct.
process. Then I started trying to keep, when they shifted into labs, what you were doing, because I've watched you do this all several
Yeah.
times. So I started watching where you were going.
Right.
So, in the first rotation, you were doing 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, and you did 3, 1, 2, 3. Most of the 9 minutes stayed with 2. So then I decided to watch when you were switching. So the second setup did timing, number of students, but you seemed to kind of 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, one time 5 minutes, and then I did the third. So that kept coming out similar. In that flow of what you're thinking about when you're doing stations, what's happening well there? What's going on with
Yeah.
when you decide to change and you're watching each other? What's happening?
I think that what happens a lot in our labs is like it's good to have both of us, because Miss White can go and give like really undivided attention and stick with the explanation. Go over there, sit them down, make sure they're doing it, and I can walk around and give like small like tidbits of
Information,
focus
yeah, smaller
and information
pieces.
and help. And
Right.
so it's good because they can get that full-on support, and they also have someone jumping in just to make sure you're staying focused, you're doing what was asked, like you're not somewhere else. So they get 2 different levels of support, I guess.
Yeah, and we also tell the students that just because you see us talking with one group doesn't mean our hearing shuts off. So we're talking, helping this, but I'm hearing, well, I don't know what to do, and so I'm thinking, okay, I'll go there
Yeah.
next.
Describe some of this, but just think a little bit further. In light of what went well for this learning experience today for the students, what were the components that you put into the co-teaching, with the planning, with the work? I heard you say like listening to the kids, things, but what components did you put in that made it go well?
Well,
Well, organization
Right.
first. We sat down and we talked about what we wanted to do based on where we were in the textbook. And we talked about what labs would work together and
Okay.
tie in the standard.
Okay.
And so sitting down, planning, organizing, make sure we had enough materials for everyone, how we wanted to explain it and do it, all of that worked together and helped it to flow.
So organization, you know where you are in the content of the curriculum, where you are with the standards.
And also, we like specifically sat down and we did our, you know, lesson plan, and we were like, all right, you can take this part. Like we were explaining the labs, and I think it made it easier because I knew like that she explained lab 1, so I made sure to really, you know, make sure like to think about lab 2, which would I explain like through the eyes of a middle schooler.
With the groupings though,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing to think through how to group the kids for the labs? They knew where to go. They knew what to do. That was obvious.
Well, we started that day one, introducing them to how to flow around the classroom. We developed the groups probably after week 1 because we had to check out the personalities,
Yeah,
the
you know, who knows
learning
what together.
modalities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once we've changed seating several times
Yes, I'm
in
just
here,
seating,
yeah,
yeah.
to
Okay.
kind of get the chemistry right for each group.
But then it also works out like we have a student in group 3 and she's really quiet and like she won't work with other people unless she's pushed, but we put her with more like outgoing students to kind of mesh those two personalities together. And
Okay.
so those more outgoing students keeps them focused because they can help her along and it gets her more involved. So I guess we just really think about their personalities, whether that's going to clash or help each other. And then they know, like, each table, like, this is group 1, that's group 2, and that's group 3. And they know group 1 starts at lab 1, group 2 starts at lab 2, group 3 starts at lab 3.
And then you rotate.
And then when you need to readjust the groups, you readjust where they sit.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you've thought it through.
Oh, yeah.
Anything out of it you saw that you would change if you did this again?
I think our timing
Yeah.
probably needed a little bit more
Okay.
work.
Okay.
We may have to shorten a couple of the activities so that fit within that time frame, so we have enough time to, at the end, to talk about everything,
Right.
each lab.
Any other learnings, anything you would consider changing?
I think, I know it's just hard for me because, you know, like, I've never taught on my own before, but it's hard to know, like, because I was thinking, like, when we were planning the labs together, I thought that would be fine. And then I had those labs over there, I was like, this isn't going to be enough. So I gave them 4 links. And, like, I guess, you know, like,
Should've
my
had one.
10 minutes, I can get a lot more done than a 6th grader's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, like, even back there, I told them, like, okay, instead of going with A through M, let's just go A through E, you know, and we'll just measure A through E so we can get, at least
Yeah.
see the expansion. So, that's just something I'm going to have to adjust for.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
time.
Any observations for sharing related to just the whole coaching process in terms of it's intended to be not supervisory, not directive, non-prescriptive? You determine your goal.
Yeah,
You want to
I
work
like
on
that.
for your own
Right.
growth.
I think it's helpful because it like forces me to realize things that maybe I'm doing every day, especially when I create different goals. So like if it is assessment, you know, like obviously I am assessing every day, but it causes me to focus on, you know, how am I assessing? What am I assessing? Like how can I make it better? And so it's causing me to like focus on different aspects of teaching and then to like grow with them without it being like, oh, am I gonna fail this? You know, or am I pass it?
Or do something wrong.
Am I doing wrong? Is it right? Yeah.
It's just been great just to have a co-teacher.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially this year with the multiple grade levels I'm
Yeah.
doing, I had Kristen with me to help out. It's just been wonderful. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed the whole
It's
process.
gonna be weird doing it on my own.
Oh,
hopefully.